Evening, y'all. How's it going? Welcome to another Lockdown Live chat. As usual, joined with my awesome co-host, the purveyor of all things Dracona Media, Mr. Alec Larson. How's it going?
Yeah, good. It's good to be able to talk metal during this lockdown, and it's quite an honor to have a legendary homeboy from South Africa with us to talk slams. You know,
it's true. Today we're joined with Mr. Duncan Bentley. You guys might know him as the frontman, co-founder of XAVLEG and Vulvodynia, although involved with numerous other projects, including the Crowd Kill apparel range, as well as Sinners with his awesome fiancée, Catherine. So, yeah, welcome, Duncan. How's it? Evening, guys. Welcome back, Duncan. Apparently, you got some big news because you wouldn't want to speak to us otherwise.
Yeah, no, man. Thanks so much for having me again, man. Just got back to Port Elizabeth, or should I say, Kabaga or Kaibaga, whatever it changed to today. Yeah, we were at studio for like 3 weeks now, recording all the vocals for the new album, and I was gone so long that my home city changed its name. It's just been fucking crazy, man. But it's good to be home. I'm just like, it feels like I've been on tour or something.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, I mean, it's awesome that we actually have you here, like, getting a bit of an exclusive. So tell us a little bit about the album process. This is album number 4, I think, release number 10, if you include EPs and singles and whatnot. So how was the process this time around?
Man, it's been so amazing this time around because we got Lwandile now in the band as well. And like, I don't know, it's just been one of the first albums where we've all written everything together. Like most of the tracks that were written were bounced off of each member and everybody's had their say in what's going on. And it's also the first Vulvodynia album to have real drums. So we're so excited to like finally release this. But yeah, this album's going to be a follow-up to Finis Omnium Ignorantium. So it's all about aliens and all the alien vibes. Yeah, thanks for ripping that back. Yeah, and so we're just so excited to follow up with this because we got to write a whole concept theme behind the album instead of just going like, you know, a concept behind each song like we did with Psychosidicity Design and Mob Justice, for instance. So, we just went all out, and it was like I was writing a novel in that cave there in Benoni. And yeah, no, it was just like, so many pages of lyrics, so many things to delve into, so many things that Vulvodynia hasn't done before. There's like a lot of choruses with like pitch screaming and like similar to like a Fit for an Autopsy and Cattle Decap and like those type of bands. And then we've also got like tons of amazing guest features from bands that we've toured with in the past. Just so many things. We've also gotten the artwork done by Diamorph. I don't know if you've heard about him. He's a Russian artist. He's fucking amazing. He's worked with Black Dahlia and like a bunch of other bands before. So we really wanted to work with him, and he just made this concept come alive. So yeah, we're so excited. There's so much about the album. Like, yeah.
That's awesome. You guys have touched on like quite a large array of lyrical themes. You know, you've done the obligatory slam thing of serial killers and stuff in Psychosidicity Design, and it's awesome that you're now following up from Finis Omnium Ignorantium, that thing.
A lot of the bands just call it the Red Album.
The Red Album.
Usually when we go with the Latin names, and the new album's also in Latin, the album title. So when we pitched it to the label, they were like, we don't know if we should go with a Latin title because people can't pronounce it. And we're like, fuck it. It's a continuation of that one, so we want it hard to pronounce.
Awesome. It's very black metal of you.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, and this album actually has a lot of black metal elements as well, because like one of my favorite bands is Karak Angren, and they have a lot of those like story parts where he just talks in that black metal voice, and I've been doing that in some of the songs. You can actually hear something similar to that in the XAVLEG song Veil of Moonlight. where it's like, you know, Chris just playing some clean acoustic notes with me like singing in a black metal voice over it. So there's a lot of stuff like that in the album, and I think the fans are gonna, I don't know, the slam fans are probably gonna hate it, but we're probably gonna pick up a lot of like mellow death and tech death fans, because it is more of a melodic death metal, technical death metal album in my like, you know, aspect, and it's got like a lot of slams thrown in there, but like, yeah, it's more of our tech death album.
Nice, nice. Well, you actually bring in a nice little segue, because we actually had to discuss this. Vulvodynia is one of these weird bands that has kind of sat between what's brutal slamming death metal and what's slamming deathcore. So it'd be good to kind of hear it straight from the horse's mouth. I mean, how do you guys classify yourselves, you know, like to all the haters and...
Yeah, okay, for all of them, clarify it, it's just straight up. I'm going to say it like, I feel like the first album, Cognizant Castigation, the Blue album, was definitely a full-on slamming deathcore album. That was like, we had heard bands like Vulvocrania and Ingested, and we just loved the vibe of mixing the slam elements, you know what I mean, those chugs and those just guttural vocals and weird shit like that with the deathcore stuff. So the first album definitely was, but like, we still thought that, you know what I mean, if we're slamming deathcore or slamming death metal, you're still slam. Like the haters can hate, you know what I mean? It's still slam. And so from there with Finis, that album was a lot more on the deathcore side, I'm not gonna lie. Like it had almost no slam elements to it, but we tried to do more of the alien vibe, which we loved from bands like Rings of Saturn and all of those type of alien bands, and the Faceless, Planetary Duality. I feel like that's also influenced this album a lot. Yeah, all of those alien bands that we heard in the past, we wanted to do like a cool concept album about that, and it's just so fun writing all of that stuff. And then with PD, we just wanted to do that classic, you know what I mean, death metal album, just go as obscene as possible. And the EP tracks that I originally wrote that got carried over to Psychosadistic, when I wrote those tracks, I had the idea of just having it be as disgusting and as obscene as possible. Like I just wanted it, like a metalhead to read it and be like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? But like, I feel like in today's cancel culture, it's like you can't write as much as about that type of stuff as you could in these days, unless you're like Cannibal Corpse or something like that. But I feel like we've just dropped all the rapey stuff and anything to do with like women and children, but there's still a lot of murder and just disgusting like aliens eviscerating people and just shit like that in the new album. So I feel like we just shift between genres and we never cage ourselves to one genre, because we love so many different genres. And I mean, Chris and Vulvodynia are in Technopath, for instance, which is like this crazy prog, like fucking band. And like, it's just like they've incorporated a lot of those elements into it, like Animals of Leaders thumping and like just so many different things. But so we don't want to be caged into that box. So I feel like from now on, we're just going to ride on it and say we're like death metal / deathcore, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. We're just metal.
Sick. You guys obviously are a South African band, and you know of like the sort of trials of being down south away from Europe and all that jazz. Maybe you can touch a little bit on your sort of heritage, because I know like if you look at Mob Justice, it's basically an homage to South Africa, right? Yeah. You know, very...
It's an album for South Africa, definitely. No, that's an awesome question, just because I feel like whenever we're overseas, we always try and ride that flag, like, you know what I mean? Be like, we're from South Africa. And like, it was a big thing that helped us in the beginning, because like a lot of people overseas have never seen a metal band from Africa. So when we got booked for our first tour over there, you know what I mean? The tickets were flying off the fucking shelves, and people were just like, every show was selling out, because people loved the fact that it was this exotic band coming from a country they've never like seen a band from. So I feel like you got to be proud as a band being from South Africa and just stick doing what you're doing. So many bands just end up giving up on what they're doing and never recording quality music. Like, you got to just put as much into it as you see the bands you love putting into it. Like, it costs a lot, but like, get the best artists, get the best production, record in the best studios, and try and get signed to a distribution, you know what I mean, in each country. And that way you'll be able to slowly but surely turn the music thing into your, you know, full-time thing.
100%. And like, I mean, you've done a lot of projects, so I think a big thing is, like we've spoken about in the past, is seeing
branching out.
Seeing what sticks.
Throwing as much at the wall until something sticks.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Do you think the whole idea, because a lot of people kind of forget, I mean, Vulvodynia had a rather quick rise to fame, but I think people forget that you were involved in quite a few other bands that never really worked, although they were musically sound and had all the dynamics. If just for some reason it didn't really work. Do you think that as an artist kind of pushed you when Vulvodynia started to get a little bit of momentum? Did it give you a little bit of a chip on your shoulder that you had these previous bands that never really worked out, these previous albums that never worked out, and kind of made you want to go harder with this?
I was in the situation in my life where, like, I couldn't hold a job at all. Like, I didn't want to ever cut my hair, and I was like working in retail, and I was never doing well financially in my life ever. And I feel like my fiance Catherine, she was like the one paying the bills, and everybody was like, "Man, you need to get a job and you need to do this." But the thing is, every day I would wake up and I'd sit behind my computer and I would see like how many people I can get to listen to my music. And that's the thing with any band, like with any genre, there's millions of fans out there willing to listen to your music. All you have to do is get that song to their ears. So when Vulvodynia first started in 2014, we like literally just spammed it. Like with those first 3 songs, I just had a copy pasted message that I used to send to people that just said like, "Hey, I see you're into brutal music. I think you'd be into my EP." And like half of the people would be like, "Fuck yeah, man, this is awesome." And they'd follow the band. And the other half would be like, "Fuck you, don't spam me. Like, I don't want to listen to your music, blah, blah, blah." And I would just spam it anyway. What I would do is I would go to like any big band that just posted a new post and like a few minutes ago, and I would see who liked the post. And like, obviously those people are online at that moment, and I would just spam them. And I was working like with my dad doing hard labor, like mixing cement and shit. And I'd be like, "No, I need to go piss." And then I'd sit with my BlackBerry for like 10 minutes and just fucking spam a link, like, you know, that type of shit. And and eventually it got out there and it got to like 10,000 likes. And eventually it snowballed, and it got to that Brutal Gear in the US that sent us that email asking if they could print 100 copies of our first EP. And at first I thought it was a scam. I didn't know if I should, you know, go with it. But then Luke just sent through the email and he was like, "Yeah, let's do it, man." And he sent through the tracks. And then they printed 100 copies in the US and 25 just logo t-shirts. And that just got spread out. That label sold that stuff out. And then we got the first bunch of like fan photos back, and we started posting that on the page. And slowly but surely we just grew. And we messaged a lot of the artists that we loved. And we were like, "Do you want to feature with us on a song?" And a lot of them were like friendly enough to just be like, "Oh yeah, man, like if you nice enough to just send them an email and explain your story, like, dude, so many people are down to earth and they'll just do it," especially in the death metal scene. So we got to feature with a lot of our favorite artists, and then we got picked up by an Australian label called Vicious Instinct Records for the blue album and the red album. And then we featured with like Vulvocrania, Ingested, and a bunch of other bands that we love so much. And I feel like the features also helped us also, you know what I mean, just get off the ground, because all of those fans would scroll through the sites where the music goes up and they're like, "Hey, there's an artist that I enjoy, so I'm going to check this band out." And from there, you know, it rose. And then in 2016, we got approached by Lacerated Enemy Records, and he was like, he gave us the deal for Psychosadistic Design, and we're like, "Okay, we're going to do this." And in the contract for that label deal was a trip to Europe, where we just have to pay for the flights, and then the label will pay for the van and any food and any accommodation and stuff. So that's why we signed with Lacerated. And then Psychosadistic Design luckily done amazing, and we done our first Europe tour in 2017. So it was just like, yeah, from 2014 to 2017, it was it was so rad.
That's awesome. You touched on getting like a distributor and getting distributors in different countries. Maybe you can talk us through like all the people that you're involved with now for your different regions.
Like, merch is such a necessity for any band. Like, the thing is, like I said, I was down in the dumps and I didn't have a lot of cash. So like, I don't know how people think we toured in the first place. Like, we had to sell a shit ton of merch. Like, touring to Europe, it's like 10 grand for the visas and then another 50 grand for the flights for each member. Well, not for each member, but for everybody in the band, it's like 50 grand. So we didn't have that. Like, I didn't have a job. So I had to do vocal lessons. I had to do guest features. Like Chris done guitar lessons, and we all just pitched together with whatever we could do musically until we had that money and we went on that first tour. So it's like, merch is so necessary as a band. You got to brand yourself so that you can make enough money to tour. Like, or else it's not a viable thing. You can't tour, you know what I mean? And that's why we've got a distribution basically in every country now. Like, in every continent. Like, we've got in the US, we was Indie Merch, and then in the UK, we were with Rising Merch, and then we got Lacerated Enemy Records, which is in Czech Republic, and then we even on Fat Tub of Lard, which is in Asia somewhere, same as Denny with Brutal Mind. We've got stuff up there, and then we've got Vicious Instinct Records in Australia, which was our first label, and we're back on there now with some stock in Australia. And then I've got Crowdkill, which gets made in China and in the US. So like, it's distributed from everywhere. So I feel like you got to just branch out and make sure that you're supplying, because I feel like when we first started, we only had a distributor in the UK, and the fans overseas were complaining the whole time because of the cost of shipping. And that's why once we opened up the distro in each country, in each continent, then it just started doing really well. We started selling a lot more.
And it's obviously been very critical during this shithole of the past year, with COVID and what, to your guys' career, the whole merch vibe, right?
Yeah, no, well, the thing is, funny enough, like, merch sales have gone up during COVID. So it's been good in that aspect. But like, we used to sell a lot of merch at shows, like, especially on Europe tours. Like, we'd sell at least like €1,000 a night, which is like a lot of shirts and T-shirts and hoodies and stuff like that. So I just feel like for the bigger bands, it's been a blessing because people are buying while they're at home. But for the fans, it's also not such a blessing because things are taking longer to arrive and you're getting a lot of chargeback disputes and things like that. But it's been lethal for the small bands because a lot of the smaller bands that just started blowing up just before COVID hit would have been, doing their first tours around last year, opening up for the bigger bands. And a lot of them have just been snuffed out because of that. So it's hectic. It's like that with almost any scene, even with sports. Like, if you think about rugby players or like soccer players that have been like working their whole lives and now they would have been doing like, matric or their final year to get into varsity, and so it all just gets snuffed out because it's like 2 years of not being able to do anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, COVID, fuck, I can't believe it's happened in our timeline. Like, just as we started like doing really well, it's just like, yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll tether a bit on the negative because obviously last year pandemic happened. You guys had a Euro tour planned with Ingested, an Asia tour, I believe with the Obliterated Record guys, and all of these things, and then everything got snubbed out. You diversified and broadened out your distribution. You came out with over 37 different lines of merchandise across all of your outlets. I'm curious, how do you decide on what shops get what designs and when?
Well, yeah, that's an interesting thing as well. When you sign a licensing deal with a distributor, usually you just give them your logo, and then it's up to the distributor to end up buying the design, unless it's a deal for your album art. But usually the label that does the album, usually owns the rights to the album art. So that's why you won't usually see that. But we own the rights to our first two album arts, the blue and the red one. So that's why you usually see that like at Fat Tub of Lard and with Denny and like in Indonesia and stuff like that. But yeah, it's usually the distributor that chooses the design.
Interesting. Yeah, curious. I guess we need, like, obviously we can lead in with that. Everything went to shit. You guys variated everything. Crowd Kill expanded, brought out a couple of other guys. So yeah. I guess, yeah, like, what does the future hold now? Like post EP with the album coming out. Any plans on the tours kicking off on loosely date?
Well, actually, we've got a new label signing, and I feel like this might be the first place that you hear about that. We've got a new label signing coming up, and No Bad Blood with Lacerated Enemy. We love Zedinek so much. He helped us more than anything in the world, and he will probably be driving us around on a lot of tours and still be doing a lot of Vulvodynia merch. But yeah, we've got a new label that we've signed to. And a lot of the tours that got cancelled last year all got postponed. So, but then again, this year looks like it's going to be another no-go, especially for South Africans because of the rollout with the vaccine and all of that. But yeah, we've got all of those tours coming up probably next year. And we've also got the album coming out with a bunch of music videos. So I'm going to be coming back to Joburg next month probably to shoot all the music videos for the album. And we've gotten quite a rad budget for the music videos. So we're going all out. We have some cool ideas. We want to do something on the rooftops in Joburg. So hopefully that turns out. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff planned for this year. And with Crowd Kill as well, we've got so many bands that have joined now. And we've recovered after the whole COVID thing because there were a lot of chargebacks because of things taking long. But we've recovered and things are taking... like arriving really quickly now when it comes to postage. So yeah, I'm excited to announce all those new bands and just get to touring again and playing shows hopefully.
Sick.
Lots of news coming. Lots of news.
Yeah.
I think from my side, maybe it would be nice to know a little bit of your personal history in terms of metal. How did you get into metal? What was like your first band, your first love? And then part two to that question is, how did you learn vocals?
Okay. Well, with metal, like my mom and dad are like hippies, but my dad used to be a biker and he loved AC/DC and like all the old school rock bands, but mainly AC/DC. And so growing up, he'd always listen to like Metallica and AC/DC and Black Sabbath. And so I got into it slowly like that. But then I remember my sister was dating this guy at one point. I think it was in like 2007. And he gave me the entire Obituary discography on like a 3-disc. And like from there, I slowly got into thrash first. And then in like 2008, I met this friend of mine called Len John. He's a tattoo artist in Joburg now. And he was like this first deathcore kid I ever met. Like he had big ass tunnels and long hair. And I was just like, whoa, man, this guy's so cool. And he was the first one to like introduce me to all the deathcore bands. He gave me like, I think it was like Suicide Silence and Oshino and like early Job for Cowboy and all of it on like one disc. And so in 2009, I got into the deathcore stuff. And that guy actually used to do inhales, and he like I'd come over to his place and we'd be smoking weed together, and he's like doing inhales to like Dean Crescent and stuff like that. Another amazing old school SA band, and like I was just like, what the fuck, man? What is that? And then he taught me how to do inhales to begin with. That was in like 2009. So then I'd done inhales for like 3 years, and then I met my beautiful fiance and her group of friends. And there was another friend of mine there named Tyron Cass. He used to be in a band called Apart From Your Cliche in Joburg as well. old school SA band. And he taught me how to do exhales. He was the first one to do an exhale pig squeal. And I was like, what the fuck, man? What the hell is that? And he was like, man, it's exhale. And then I was like, I need you to learn how to do that, man. And so I think from around 2011, I started doing exhales. And then my inhales slowly like deteriorated and they're not really there anymore. Like I cough when I do them now. But yeah, so it was like around 2008 that I started. And luckily enough, in 2014, I started a band that it worked out with, you know what I mean? And I got to record my vocals on, because that was the thing, like I could always do the vocals, but I could never find a band that could go into studio and like record the record the stuff. So that's why with Luke, he just sent me those files and I had like a broken drum mic that I used in my room. And I didn't even have like an interface. I just plugged it into the like there's a mic jack next to the headphone jack on the PC. I like plugged it in there, bro. And then I just done the vocals for the EP and yeah, took off from there.
Sick.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you did mention about having good relationships with other bands, and it seems to be something that really only in Brutal Death do you really get those types of partnerships where you can guest vocal and whatnot. And you've been able to actually do a lot of guest vocals, and hopefully will continue even after this album is done.
Yeah, like my guest vocals are like literally one of my main income streams. And it's like how I pay my rent almost every month. So it's like, yeah, the guest vocals are essential. And like, when it comes to that as well, we also offer the bands that I feature with like promo off of the Volvo socials and like XAVLEG socials and stuff like that. So it's not like you're just paying for the feature as well. You're paying for that extra boost in your career as well. So yeah, it's like I'll never stop vocals, man. I love doing it, and I just have it all in one Spotify playlist, and I can't get enough of listening to my own music. And that sounds bad.
Oh, well, we can't wait to hear a few more. I mean, obviously, the other band is XAVLEG. I'd be actually broken in not asking you if you can give the full description of the band. So, just we'll give you a second. No, we'll give you a second to warm up.
I'm going to hit this first because it wouldn't be XAVLEG without having the bong hit first, like Invoke the Smoke.
We're going to have to demonetize this video now, but it's all right. Probably get copyrighted.
Just float an emoji over me while I'm smoking.
Yeah.
Like a smoke emoji.
Hey, it wouldn't have been like an HE podcast had we not done this first one of the year. I honestly thought we would have had this with Resurrection and Fetal Remains, but here we go.
With the smoke, acidic vaginal liquid explosion generated by massive amounts of filthy fecal fisting and acidic. Here we go. Sorry. Acidic vaginal liquid explosion generated by massive amounts of filthy fecal fisting and sadistic septic syphilic sodomy inside the infected, maggot-infested womb of a molested nun dying under the roof of a burning church while a priest watches and ejaculates in immense perverse pleasure of his first fresh fetus. Woo! Sorry, yeah. With the smoke in my lungs, I was like, I'm not going to complete that.
And
there we go. Yeah, I played live literally every night when we played live. We done a Europe tour, and like when we introduced the band, I had to say it. And with our intro, it's also I just say the full band name as the lyrics for the intro, so it's quite funny. I had to learn it all.
So far, every band member has been able to give off the name. Everyone. So we're gonna keep this train going as we bring back. Oh man. Well, I think we can probably wrap this up actually for a night, Alec. What do you say?
I think it's been awesome. Thank you, Duncan, so much for taking time out of your evening.
Thank you so much for having me, really. And go check out MMD Records. Really, you guys are so fucking amazing, man. And you got to hook me up with some snapbacks next time you order, dude.
Just show me. We're going to talk to Denny of Brutal Mind. We're going to make it happen. We're gonna hook up the brutality.
hit up Lyle, and yeah, you can skip all that shipping.
Damn right, damn right. Wisest words anyone could ever have said. And I guess on that note, any other plugs? Anything else you want to push? I mean, I know the Psychosadistic design vinyl is out. It might be selling out, might be almost sold out now. So anything you want to plug?
Maybe like 10 left of each variant, and he might have put it as sold out on there. So you can only get those at shows. But yeah, guys, check out the new Vulvodynia when that shit comes out, and go and check out the Disconnect and Borning Pestilence on our YouTube channel. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe here.
Right here.
Thanks, guys.
Note, I guess, yeah, we're gonna wrap it up for this week. We'll keep next week's guest or guest a mystery. But yeah, we will see you same time, same place on the interweb. Wait, what's going on?
Happy birthday, Happy birthday quickly. Wait.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And all the best to the sinners of you and Catherine.
Okay, here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Nog a beep. There's some extra South African flair.
And on that note, we will see you guys same time, same place. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks so much, Duncan. Thanks, Kat. Thanks, Al.
Cheers.
Pleasure, dudes.